Right, yes, hi all. So, welcome. Yep, hopefully this should be the third and final part for the Night Mag version 4 repair. So as you see, the battery is in front of me. So this is a common battery, and this is the one that happens to be in these version 4s, and I think it's the same one that's in the version 3s. Obviously, when you come to replace your batteries, really take them out, double check they haven't been changed, but you know, for different types over the years. But these are the ones. The original one here, you can see it's dated 040821, and then the new one's dated 0123. Different connectors on there, so I'll have to cut off these connectors and solder on. So yeah, cut off those and solder them onto these batteries here. So just be careful not to cock it up, but it should be very simple. So that's those. We're gonna put a new battery in each shoe. Really randomly, you know, the battery does actually still charge. Bear when I charged this up when I first got it, just for a couple of hours, you know, and it still charges, and it's still enough to repair basically. So yeah, it's absolutely spot on. So it still actually holds charge, but it doesn't do any harm anyway, just to replace the batteries with a pair of brand new ones. At least you know it's done, because then you have to like re-glue this down and stuff anyway if you planning on wearing them, you know. And so I'll have to use some sort of fairly tough glue, you know. And but yes, there we go. That's the original battery there, and obviously that's the one there that's right there. So yes, let me get the soldering iron out, swap over the connectors, put the batteries in, test them. They might be flat, probably not, and then if it's all good, then I can then glue back the inner soles tomorrow, once I sort of check them again overnight and check them tomorrow morning, make sure they're still good. Yep, glue it back in, job done. Right, let's crack on. Right, yes, so that's all done. So yep, double heat shrinked these, so a heat shrink on each wire and then a piece over the top and squeeze down just to hold it all in place firm. Should be no issues at all with those. They're all sorted. There's the old batteries there. I've just sealed these up on there just so they don't short circuit or anything on them. Old connectors, all that sort of stuff, I'll just bin it basically. Didn't take too long actually, so that's good. So now the difficult thing is getting these back in the shoe, because obviously you've got to use long nose pliers and tweezers, and of course hold them in the bag so you don't get any marks on the shoes and stuff. So I can connect it up now, put the battery in place with a little bit of tape, and then obviously connect it, and then poke the connectors in down into that gap, so that they're in the sort of correct position basically. So when when the owner basically wears the shoes, he's not standing on top of the connectors. So that's really important. And then, like I said to you, I'll leave them overnight, and if they're still good tomorrow, which of course hopefully they should be with new batteries in, I can then glue down the inner sole, and job done. Right, let me get these babies in. Right then, yes, so yeah, they're done. So what I've done is I marked the batteries just as what I normally do. I just mark them with PG on, that's all. But obviously they're dated anyway on there, so that's those. And that's the other one there. Now, and what I've also done is I like to apply a bit of this glue here, so it's basically peelable glue, so it's not like super glue and it gets in everywhere. It just sticks on top of the connectors. So what I've done is, to zoom in, show we're in focus, I've just put, you see there's a blob of glue just down top of the connectors, because these connectors actually slide in incredibly easily, which obviously is a good thing. But of course when you're walking, you obviously don't want that to come off, because then you lose all your power, you know. So I put a little blob of glue on the top, and I think actually that they did actually have a blob of glue anyway on them as well, and there's a blob of glue on that one. So I've left it in that position there, because of course once the glue's dried, say overnight basically, then I can test the shoe again tomorrow morning, and then I can then put the wiring in the optimal position for the power cable, so it's basically not right there underneath the ball of the person's foot, you know. So yes, that's fine. One other observation actually, as you can see here, that the wiring to the connector to the battery is basically sort of middle, whereas on this one here, it's actually right towards the end. You can't put it through, it's just where it's been made. It's just been stitched in that position there, so that connector there can't go down here. It has to go back there somewhere. So what I'll do is I'll probably poke it right into this corner gap just down here, so that it's flat and mostly out of the way. So I think that should be completely utterly fine, and that means therefore the battery as well is then facing battery that has to face towards the back of the shoe. The connectors do, so it has to go this way, because otherwise it's not long enough. Whereas this one here can face forwards. It's no drama. It just means I need to position the connectors in slightly different positions. And that's it. Yeah, Cool, right, so they're done. They both work. Turn it on. Oops. So, and then this one here is the one I fixed. So I'm gonna turn it on. Yeah, and obviously all the lights are all on down there. So yes, good stuff. Right, I'll do a last little section on this tomorrow morning if it's all good, and then I can seal these babies up. Nice one. Right then, yes, hi all. So we have a problem. We have a problem with one of the V4s. So the other one's okay. The other shoe's good. So on this one here, what I did see is I then obviously initially thought it was fixed. I had the battery in. Obviously the laces all worked. All operating's perfect. Put the inner sole back down. Put the glue around the outside. Then put in basically a bottle of beer to like hold it down and sort of simulate, you know, weight on that sort of section. So what I was doing is I was pushing it down and just sort of twisting the bottle, that's all, just to sort of get the glue set up. And then what I found is then it would then flicker. The lights and the power would literally flicker on and off. So obviously I knew straight away that there was a problem, of course, because of course as soon as you put your actual foot in there and your weight on it, it's obviously going to do exactly the same thing. So I obviously lifted up the material, just quickly rubbed off the wet glue effectively, and then had a look, and all the connectors all look spot on. But then I then noticed some yellow here in this section just down here. So I then lifted up this piece here. I can see that ultimately this one here has a really, really bad angle, and where it being crushed underneath this sort of section here, it actually started to short circuit. So when you put your pressure on it, it's obviously short circuiting and flicking this, and obviously getting hot, and then melting the insulation on the other part of the wire, which you can then see is basically there. Now these wires, you've literally got, you know, about an inch of wire on this and this one here, and really odd angles. So I then tested it, and yes, they were short circuiting, the other piece was, and this is basically the switch. So I thought that would kind of make sense then. So there's hardly any wire, hardly any spare capacity here. So what I had to do is have a think about it. So you can't really get the soldering iron in there to cut off the connector, to solder it to this, or to solder a new connector on it. There just wasn't enough, and all of the wiring was basically melted. So had to go very, very drastic, but very, very subtle. And you can see here, that's the wire. Obviously I've sort of neatened it up, and because it's covered in like glue and insulation and crap basically, so I've neatened it up. But as you see, nice neat hole in the bottom there, subtle place. So that's it, that's the maximum I can get, which is hardly anything at all. You can't put anything anymore because the rest of it is stitched through all the way up to the switch. So that's it. So what I'm doing is I'm going to undo one of these at a time, and then see if I can then put a tiny bit of thin heat shrink all the way across, you know, down for, you know, 1.5 inches, for example, then clip this back into the connector. So that's my potential plan. So yeah, let me go for it now. Right, yes, trust me, this took bloody ages, because you just got hardly any capacity, any length there, you know. So yeah, each wire is every single one is soldered nice and neat. Obviously you can't put too much heat on these things either. So now I can now poke this all back through carefully into this section, reconnect the battery, and then we should be good, I reckon. Right, let's have a go. Right, yes, so it's working. So you can sort of see the amount of tools, glues, bits and pieces, you know, you need, soldering irons, heat shrink, you know, wiring, all that sort of stuff to do this, you know. This was a weird one. But anyway, that's my new wiring loom, as you can see there in the middle, which I've done, it's color coded. Also all heat shrinked. I've just put the white connector underneath it. That's the battery connector there. So I've just put a blob of glue, clear glue on top of that connector, because these connectors, you know, they're just basically pressed in, so they can literally easily come apart, you know. So yes, I've got a little blob of glue on there, and then tomorrow or Tuesday I can then tuck that wiring loom there into the base, and then put the inner sole back in. So yes, switch it on just there, sweet, and then laces. Cool. Now at least I can then try this again tonight and try it again tomorrow. And then if it's all sweet, then I can seal it up, you know. So at least now the wiring has been fully repaired in there as well. So yes, hopefully we're good. I mean, you can just see, it's kind of like, I kind of feel it's a bad design, you know, because you've got literally all of the connectors, all of the sort of key stuff is naturally underneath your, the ball of your foot. And if it was more so in the middle, and it'd be more of a pain to get to for being repaired, etc. But I feel it'd be more reliable if all the gear was in the middle, or, you know, more of it was, say, behind here, for example. You know, so I just think it's a bit of a bad design in terms of where the wiring's placed. But yes, there we go.